Illegal wildlife trade is estimated to be a multi-billion-dollar business involving the unlawful harvest of and trade in live animals and plants or part of the products derived from them. There are a couple of conventions that discuss about the trade of illegal endangered species. There's a background of a CITES. CITES is a convention on international trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora, or the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Plants and Animals is an international agreement between countries which was drawn up based on the resolution of the session of members of the World Conservation Union in 1963. There are three principles of international environmental law. The first one is a biodiversity principle. Basically, this principle thinks that biodiversity conservation is the responsibility of each country and its people. Therefore, each country must cooperate with other countries to work together to protect and prevent overexploitation, which results in species extinction. The second one is precautionary principle. This principle thinks that every country should consider regulating the trade of animal species so that the species do not become extinct. This principle requires consideration before doing something so as not to damage the environment. And then the third one is principle of sustainable use. The aim of CITES is to regulate the international trade of certain species of wild animals and plants to be protected from excessive exploitation. Species utilization activities must ensure its existence for now and in the future.
According to CITES, the participating country who follows this convention, they must determine the applicable regulations in their country. In addition, the state must also establish a scientific and management authority in which both parties determine whether these species are allowed to be traded or not. The state is responsible for making national regulations that are in line with the implementations of the convention, such as being responsible for giving sanction to those who break the law. Therefore, the state should establish a procedure on how to do the trade, either import or export, against a particular species. And the second one is Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD. This convention generally regulates the protections and conservations of certain species and habitats, or only applies to a certain regional area. The CBD regulates the protections of nature internationally and more comprehensively. Through this convention, participating countries form to establish conservation areas and develop guidelines for selection, establishment, and management. According to CBD, the principle of international environment law is each country has full sovereignty over the management of its natural resources in accordance with the national law of its country, but they must responsible and ensure that the activities carried out by the country do not cause the environmental damage. So, according to CBD, the state responsibility is to create national conservation activities and their sustainable use, and integrate these activities into the country sectors, programs, and policies.
On protection of world cultural and natural heritage. First of all, I'm going to talk about the background. It's pretty simple. It's for the protection of the cultural and natural heritage. This particular convention has the mission of identifying the world's natural and cultural heritage, and it ensures the safety and protection of the world's cultural heritage. This convention also combines arrangements between natural heritage and cultural heritage, which is considered as a common heritage unit. And they also went through the principles of international environmental law. They talked about responsibility not to cause environmental damage. They talked about principle of preventive action, which basically means to encourage each participating country to take certain steps, especially through research and scientific studies, and certain methods to eliminate the dangers that threaten the existence of natural heritage located on the country concerned. And they also talked about principle of sustainable development, which means the importance of protecting future generations. And the last point I'm going to talk about is state responsibilities, This also means that responsibility as a world community to participate in the protection of the world's cultural and natural heritage. So basically, every country has a responsibility to protect other countries' world cultural and natural heritage.
Law number 5 of 1919 concerning conservation of biological, natural resource and ecosystem. Government regulation number 7 of 1999 concerning preservation of plant and animals species. Government regulation number 8 of 1999 concerning utilization of wild plants and animals. Decree of the Minister of Forestry number 62 of 1998 on administration of circulation of plants and wildlife, and the Minister of Forestry and Plantation number 104 of 2000 on procedures taking catch wild plant and wildlife.
Richness of biodiversity in Indonesia make this country as a place of origins for distributions and trade of endangered and high-value species. One of the species that the target of illegal hunting and trade is Sundanese pangolins or Manis javanica, or known as tringgiling in Indonesian. This species is traded for the consumption of body parts as the traditional medicines for Chinese people. But previously, the scales on pangolins were used as the raw materials for making handcrafts such as bags, wallets, and other accessories. Meanwhile, the meat were used as the luxury dish and resources of protein for the local people. The pangolins are the only unique scaly mammals of Polydota family. The scales on pangolins that function as a means of protecting themselves from prey unfortunately are now a threat because they are the target of poaching, and it brings them to a critically endangered status based on the red list of the World Conservation Agency (IUCN). Whereas this species is protected in Law Number 5 of 1990 concerning conservation's biological natural resources and their ecosystems. Not only that, the status in conventions on international trade of endangered species is Appendix 1, which means that it cannot be traded. In the solutions, Indonesia and WWF cooperating in order to solve this smuggling by creating the Wildlife Crime Team to assist Indonesia government in fighting crimes against species. Then socializing the law enforcement to handle the case in trading of endangered species. Also cooperating with the Ministry of Maritime and Fishery as well as the Ministry of Environment and Forestry in the form of implementations, conflict mapping information system, and sustainable productions forest management in the social field.